So throughout history, heartache has inspired countless people to put pen to pad and write some of the world's greatest literature and poetry. I have no doubt that Shakespeare was thinking about lost love when he pulled out his feather pen and wrote Romeo and Juliet. Sylvia Plath, the famous poet and novelist, said that she used her heartache to turn sorrow into beauty. And I think we all know that, there are countless love ballads that have been based on broken hearts. For me, heartache many years ago inspired me to write a book of dirty jokes. Now, these were not just any dirty jokes. These were jokes that denigrated, insulted, and tore men apart. And boy, did that help me get over my heartache. I was much younger then. It was about 20 years ago. And it started off as most young loves do, with poor judgment. Several of my friends who knew the young man had warned me ahead of time that, he was handsome, he was charming, he made you feel like you were the only woman on earth, and then he would quickly grow tired of the relationship and move on. But I was convinced that I alone could change him. I could teach him what true love meant. Again, I was very young and stupid. So our love affair was intense, but rather brief. Within a week, we were spending every night together. Within a month, we were flying to Switzerland to spend a romantic weekend skiing with his friends. The couples we were meeting on the trip were all very experienced skiers. Some of them were actually professionals. Me, not so much. It had probably been about 10 years since I put skis on, but I was in love. It was Switzerland, and damn it, I was going to give it my all. And I was doing pretty well at the beginning. It was our first day of the trip, of a 3-day trip, and I was keeping up with these people who had been very experienced skiers. And I was doing so well that I started to get a little bit cocky. And about 2 hours into our first day, I agreed to get onto one of the Black Diamond slopes on the Matterhorn. Yes, that Matterhorn. I quickly learned it's not just a ride at Disneyland. Well, sure enough, within about 15 seconds, I hit a snowbank as I was trying to turn, and my left leg stayed in the snow while my body turned in the other direction. And I heard a very loud popping sound before I collapsed in excruciating pain. Now, my boyfriend at this point was nowhere to be seen. He had taken off minutes before me and didn't see me wipe out. But 2 of his friends, luckily, were keeping an eye on me, knowing that I was a novice, and they saw me collapse. So they came up to me. One of them went down the hill to get help, while the other one sat with me and waited for help. About 20 minutes later, 2 very lovely Swiss men arrived with a wooden board. They strapped me to the board and dragged me down to the bottom of the hill. When I got to the bottom, my boyfriend and his friends were waiting, and they loaded me into the ambulance. My boyfriend came with me to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, the doctor told me that I had torn my ACL and my MCL, and that once I got back to the United States, I would need reconstructive surgery on my knee. They gave me crutches and put a brace around my knee. And for the next 2 days, I hobbled around this beautiful Swiss town called Zermatt, reading books and drinking a lot of beer in little cafes while my boyfriend and his friends spent the day skiing. When the trip was done, we flew back to the United States. And 3 days later, my boyfriend dumped me. It was a week after that I had surgery on my knee. And the surgery then required me to spend 2 weeks in bed. I couldn't walk until I started to heal. So I was for 2 weeks in bed, and as you can guess, I had a lot of pent-up anger. So I took that anger along with the bottle of Percocet that my doctor had given me, and I began writing my manifesto against men. And it wasn't just against my boyfriend, it was against all men. And I called the book, "I'm Not a Lesbian, I Just Hate Men." And let me tell you, if you give an angry woman a pen and a bottle of Percocet, the creative juices start flowing. So as I lay in bed for the next 2 weeks, pen and pad, I furiously wrote down every anti-male joke I could think of. And as I talked to friends on the phone, I asked them, if you know any anti-male jokes, let me know. And we came up with great jokes. Things like, why did the man cross the road? He heard the chicken was a slut. Also, what do you call the excess flesh around the penis? The man. And it wasn't just all jokes that the book was full of. It also included real life stories of famous men doing really stupid things. For example, when Newt Gingrich on the House floor argued against women being in combat because unlike men, they don't like rolling around in dirt. And if you put a woman in a ditch for too long, she'll get infections. So I was collecting these stories, collecting these jokes, and even after I was able to get out of bed and after the Percocet ran out, I continued to do research and collect stories and write everything down. And eventually I put my manifesto together and I sent it out to about 10 different book agents. They all turned it down. And I will admit, I got the very best rejection notice ever, where the agent said, you know, she laughed out loud and she thought it was one of the funniest things she'd ever read, but she didn't think there was a market for this type of book. Now, I don't know where this woman lived, but she obviously didn't hang out with the bitter group of women that I did. In the end, I wasn't able to get the book published. And like the Percocet, my pain and anger eventually dwindled away. I'm now married to a wonderful man, and hopefully I will never feel the need to put pen to pad and write another anti-male joke book. But I still have the manuscript in a box in my bedroom. I've never shown it to my husband. And I will admit that every so often when we have a fight, I'll open it up and I'll take a look at it and I'll read the jokes, and it makes me feel better. But more importantly, it reminds me that even though I don't have any Percocets left over, as long as I have ink in my pen, that is the greatest cure for heartache. Thank you.